Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are discussing something I thought we wouldn't be discussing for a while, but here we are. We're talking about the official casting announcement for the 14th Doctor, which is so exciting to be able to say. This is going to be a bit of a sort of mini retrospective. We've got a couple of days now to let the news simmer, let people talk about it, and see what's being said in the community, and see kind of what's going on, what people's opinions are, and give me a bit of time to really kind of think about what I like and don't like about this announcement, or, well, if there is anything to not like, and talk about it in a video. So if you want to see my live reaction to the news, you can check it out on the channel. We did live stream around the time it was announced, which was great. And yeah, so if you want to watch our official reaction, then you can go and check that out there on the channel. It was the previous video uploaded. But this is kind of a bit of a summary video to talk about the official casting. That was, of course, Ncuti Gatwa as the 14th Doctor, which is such an exciting thing to be able to talk about now and like theorize. And yeah, so we're going to break this down and sort of how it happens. So first of all, the announcement itself. So it started out as an Instagram post, which Ncuti put on his Instagram, a little few emojis, 2 hearts plus and a blue box. We've got a lot of people talking, especially because Russell T Davies had commented on it and interacted with it, and then even shared the post, particularly interesting, which is around the time we started live streaming on this channel for that exact reason. And in about an hour after the post was originally posted, the Doctor Who official social media pages officially, properly announced Ncuti Gatwa as the 14th Doctor, or the next Doctor, or the Doctor. It wasn't clear. It's not really been stated that he's the 14th Doctor anywhere, and I'm not sure if that's just a sort of oversight or whether that's just an intentional thing. Maybe, a lot of people are talking about, is he actually the 14th Doctor, or is he like the 15th, or is there going to be a secret one in between? I don't know if it's any of that. I think, quite frankly, he's going to be the 14th Doctor, so yeah, that's exciting. In terms of how they did it, I have to say I probably was a little bit disappointed with the whole, because obviously in the last few years, Matt Smith got announced on a special episode of Confidential. It was announced in advance, and it just got there, and you got to build up the hype for it. Peter Capaldi, again, a live TV broadcast, which wasn't actually great. I didn't really like that one, but at least it was, an event. And Jodie Whittaker, of course, it being announced prior that there was going to be an announcement at this exact day and time. And there was a full, specially filmed little segment, which was really exciting. Now, that's not to say this was a bad announcement by any means, because what it has done is given the press a lot to talk about, and it's given the fans a lot to talk about. And I think, actually, in terms of social media, and in terms of actually marketing the show, this is definitely one of the sort of more exciting and out there announcements. Every time a new Doctor's announced, it's always big news. But making this like a little secret thing that's dropped on like Instagram and then sort of picked up, and thrown around, not to mention like an hour after the announcement, both Ncuti and Russell T Davies were at the BAFTAs on the red carpet, free to answer any questions and all that sort of thing that they can. It's so great because it doesn't give anyone a warning, and especially newspapers and articles, everyone is scrambling to get that first scoop on this big story, which only happens once every few years, which in turn makes the conversation about it even bigger and more exciting, not to mention the BAFTAs, where they obviously got interviewed, but they also made jokes about Ncuti being the next Doctor live on stage on TV, where loads of people would have been watching. So it's really clever and really great marketing, and it was sort of masterfully done. As much as I would have loved to have seen Ncuti like in a specially filmed thing, walking up to the TARDIS, pulling a hood down or something, as much as I would have loved to have seen that, I feel like this definitely fits the kind of vibe I can expect Russell T Davies' era going for in terms of announcements, where it's just like, here you go, do what you want with it, and that's just really great. In terms of Ncuti Gatwa himself, as I mentioned on the live stream, I'm not too familiar with his previous work. I know him from Sex Education. It's a TV show that I really particularly enjoy, and have watched for a couple of years now, so I love his character in it. Initially the announcement kind of threw me, because again, only basing off his previous experience in Sex Education, that performance didn't really scream like doctor-y performance to me. But again, I trust completely both him and Russell T Davies. I think it's one of those things where I was like, it's one of those Doctor announcements where no one was expecting him. No one really theorized or thought of this guy, but we should have done, because it's a great choice. And I think at the time I was a bit like, oh, that's a really surprising choice for the next Doctor, but one that I'm totally here for, I'd be very interested to see how they're going to do it and what kind of style they're going to go for. Again, basing off only what I've seen in Sex Education, it wasn't really a doctory kind of role, so I'm sort of interested to see what his range lends. But what I did say, again on the live stream, is that Sex Education shows the range of him as an actor, generally. His comedic performances are excellent. He's such a lovable and wonderful character. But he's also got that serious side as well. He has a lot of serious story points, which are played beautifully by Ncuti, and I think it's a great... You know, if looking at the interviews, which we'll talk about in a minute, if as Russell saying is they already had kind of someone in mind, Ncuti was the last audition, came in and absolutely stole the show. They immediately knew he was going to be the next Doctor. I feel like there's something special in that, where it's not like, you know, I think there's something in there. I have no doubt that Ncuti's a brilliant, brilliant actor with the absolute full ability to do the Doctor, and I completely trust Russell T Davies to make that choice, to make that call and to make that choice. So, as much as this character in Sex Ed isn't a very doctory character, so it's quite hard to look at as a reference, I still think he's a great, great choice, and I'm so excited to see what comes of it. In terms of the interviews and stuff at the BAFTAs, there was a lot of great stuff there that I definitely recommend you go and watch as much as you can from that. There's all very exciting stuff to see them being interviewed about it and what they're talking about. Again, I've obviously mentioned Russell with the auditions, but I think Ncuti as well with his attitude towards the show. He's clearly a fan of the show. He clearly understands, you know, who the character is, you know, the monsters and all that sort of thing. He seems so excited about it and so like honoured to be in this role, and I think it's such a, again, it's always a balancing act with that. When a new Doctor's announced, you're always like, one, are they good for the role in terms of acting, but also like there's a certain level of like charisma and like wonder that should come from those interviews. And it sort of, the last few years, every single one we've had has absolutely nailed it, and it was so exciting again to see an actor so happy to be in this role and so excited to see what's going to come of it. So yeah, no, super exciting stuff, and I think if you get a chance to look at those interviews from the BAFTAs and you haven't already, please do. And if you have some doubts, it might set your mind at ease. In terms of where I stand on the casting and where other people stand on the casting, I think overall this seems to be, like, on the surface at least, from what I've seen, it seems to be like less of an outcry than when Jodie was cast, which, you know, is interesting. But I also think it's a mix of things. Maybe I'm... In terms of the popularity of the casting and kind of where I stand on the casting, I personally think he's a great choice. As I've probably summarised in individual bits during this video and on the live stream, I think it's a really inspired and different choice, one that I absolutely was not expecting, but I'm totally here for. I always find that when someone's a big name and they're always the one that's going, oh, they should play the Doctor, they should play the Doctor, they're always the ones that you actually don't really want. I mean, obviously, like, I'm sat here going Timmah Miller, Olivia West, like Olivia Colman, Dev Patel, all great choices for the Doctor, but it's not going to happen. And Lydia West was a good shout, Timmah Miller was a good shout, but I think this was such a one where it's like completely unexpected, but it works. And you look at him and you go, that's the Doctor. I've seen so many wonderful bits of fan art and like digital art, drawings, all that sort of thing, but all wonderful, showing him as the Doctor, and it feels right. Feels like I'm looking at the next Doctor, and I am looking at the next Doctor, so that's great. In terms of the general sort of stuff online, I think it's approximately the same. There's a lot of people who are disappointed that the next Doctor wasn't a woman, and for me personally, I kind of wanted it to be a woman as well, 14th Doctor, but I kind of sat there and was like, you know what, like, I still like this casting decision. Obviously, I would have kind of been like, I kind of wanted them to double down on the whole female Doctor thing, but that's just from a note of them wanting to stick with it so we can have female actresses in the future play the Doctor, opposed to just feeling like a bit of a mistake, because I think it was said quite a lot as well. You have the 13th Doctor, and then if you go back to a male Doctor, there's that chance of it looking like a bit of a backstep. But I actually think with this, it doesn't feel like that at all. Both of them, especially in the interviews, are praising Jodie's work and really talking about it. It's not like they're trying to sweep it under the rug, and it's not like the BBC are trying to do that either. And I'm really happy with that, because as much as I have had my ups and downs with Jodie's era, it was never to do with her gender or anything like that. I think she, as the Doctor, is someone who really, I just wish had some better scripts, but on the whole has been someone like a Doctor incarnation who I actually have enjoyed mostly throughout. So, I'm glad that, although people might be a bit disappointed that they didn't double down with another female Doctor, I'm quite happy with the general perception of it. And I think, going into this next era, I'm delighted with the casting choice. Again, despite wanting a female Doctor for 14. I'm perfectly satisfied. There is backlash, as there always is, and I kind of want to have a little mini rant about this, so if you will indulge me, I'm going to have a bit of a rant about the sorts of people that will kick off about this sort of news, because I saw it with Jodie Whittaker, and I was quite new to YouTube at the time, and I didn't really talk about it, or want to talk about it, or ever really express much in it. But it's happening again, and it's maybe not as much, maybe it's about the same, I don't really know, maybe I've just blocked a lot of those accounts that talk like this, but I think that, like, what a totally fair criticism is with a Doctor casting announcement is if you're going, oh, I wasn't really keen on his performance in Sex Ed, like, I don't think he's gonna be, like, I don't think he's Doctor material, I don't really see it, and I'm a bit worried about that, and I think, like, that's a valid response. It's a valid response to be a bit disappointed and go, oh, I kind of wanted this person, or, you know, I don't know, I don't really feel like it's there. What I find so, like, anger-inducing for me is the people who immediately jump on and go, oh, Doctor Who's gone woke again, or it's box-ticking, or it's pandering, or it's this, or it's that, and it's just, it's so, like, annoying, because it's just absolute bollocks, and it's the same people, it's the usual suspects, it always is, and it reminds me again, we're going back to the beginning of Jodie Whittaker's era. Now, I know Jodie Whittaker's era has been quite controversial for a lot of people. There are people who wanted to like it and didn't. There are people who wanted to like it, liked a bit of it, you know, whatever. For me personally, I really like series 11 and 12. Flux was alright, but I didn't really love the ending, and the specials haven't really done much for me personally, but I did really enjoy series 11 and 12, and it's absolutely nothing to do with Jodie. That's the issue. What I do have a problem with is the kind of people who, you know, looking back, you always have the not my doctors and stuff, and you can look back now and go, oh yeah, they just don't like the writing. But a lot of those people, a lot of those same people started ranting about Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor when she was announced. Not when the scripts had been written, not when she'd been on TV, not when the actual episodes had released. I mean, yes, when the episodes were released, but when it started was when she was cast. Based nothing really on her previous acting experience, based entirely on her gender. And that's the problem there, is people kicking off about that, because that's just blatant sexism, frankly. You know, and when it comes to Ncuti Gatwa, there's people complaining because of the skin colour of Ncuti, or the race of Ncuti, which is racism. You know, it's not like, oh, I don't really like this announcement because of, like, his previous experience on Sex Ed. There's people talking about whether the skin colour of the Doctor matters, and some people saying the Doctor should be, like, white. A straight white man. It baffles me that these people are still there, and still getting traction, and still getting somewhat of an audience. I have absolutely no idea where this kind of comes from, but just remember that, like, no matter the quality of the era, these people, these same people, always start from the Doctor casting announcement. It's nothing to do with acting experience, it's nothing to do with writing at that point. It all originates from this same cesspool of racism, homophobia, and sexism, and the list goes on, etc, etc. I'm not going to sit here and call out individual names, but you can, because there's too many to list, but you can go onto any comment section on, like, Facebook, you can go and look on YouTube, you can go and look on TikTok. I haven't seen as much of it this time with this casting announcement, but it's still there, and there's still a lot of people, and it's important to not give these people a platform, but also not let them just do their thing and just forget about them and not give them attention. It's like, sometimes actually these things need to be called out, but it is so shocking to me that I look at the community and I see so many blatantly racist, homophobic, misogynistic people who are just allowed to sort of spurt this shit. And thankfully it is a very vocal, but very much a minority in the community and just the general online world. But it's shocking to me how you look on any of the comments on these posts and there's so many people who say, like, well, just because the actor's, you know, not a straight white man, it's woke. Political correctness gone mad. It's not. You're just a basically. Anyway, rant over. Sorry about that. I love the casting. I love the casting, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to go. I thought I'd sort of finish this video off by a little bit of a mini update. I know we've already done an update on the channel, but obviously I wasn't expecting this news. Just in terms of what my content's going to be for the future, I'm excited about this casting announcement, and I'm excited about the Russell T Davies next era of the show. Obviously, I'm still looking forward to the Centenary special, despite the fact that I didn't really like Sea Devils or either the Daleks. So I'm still going to be covering that when it comes out. But in terms of news, when there's a costume announced, when there's a TARDIS new look, when there's a companion announcement, expect to see content on here about me talking about it. Whether it'll be in this format with me sitting here and chatting, or whether it'll be my voiceover on a Doctor Who filming news video like we used to get in the old days. That sort of thing is the likelihood for the future of this channel, so please do stick around. If you are interested, please do subscribe, comment, like, all that sort of lovely stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.